your play is part of the South Coast Repertory Pacific Playwrights Festival this year. What are you looking for during the weekend of the Playwrights Festival?
Oh boy. I'm just excited I'm excited for all of the play readings. I just there's such a there's such a summer camp feel to PPF sometimes where it feels like theater professionals from all over the country are coming in and audiences alike and everyone is I don't know, just excited to see what's on the precipice of new theater. I can't even speak to any of the plays because I don't know any of I don't I haven't read any of them, So I think but what's so exciting about PPF is that it has such an array of kinds of plays too that there's usually something for everybody. Yeah, and I'm really excited this time to not have the I mean, it'll still be stressful to have my show going up. It'll be the closing weekend for us. But last year I was in the slot in the Nicholas where we had four readings, which meant that we the stress never quite left me as we were trying to, shape the play more and more and more every time. So I never felt like I quite got to rest. At least this time my writing will have been long over, so I can actually relax and enjoy the weekend.
Well, to add on that, how is playwright festivals like this and the other ones that your play went through? How is that helpful forming the final play that you want to present?
Yeah, so what's interesting about these playwriting festivals and conferences and all is that I think maybe in the olden days, theater plays maybe had a lot more time in rehearsal, and actually South Coast is quite generous with their time for new plays, so they give us an extra week. But if I'm doing a show at some of the other theaters, like when I was just down at the Old Globe doing this play, Empty Ride, we have 3 weeks, and then we have tech, and 3 weeks is the first week we usually do some table work. That's when a lot of script changes happen. Second week is a lot of staging. And then it's like, then you really only have kind of 1 week of real rehearsal where everyone's like off book and able to be in scenes with each other. And that just is such a short period of time before we start just adding tech elements to it. And I think what's been and of course in all of that you also start to realize like, oh, this scene isn't working anymore. And I would, if I had had an extra week, then I would have noticed. And of course we're still in this play too. We're still making changes in we're currently in our third week, I believe, or maybe our fourth week, our last week before tech. And we are still also making changes, but we came into this rehearsal process with a script that's really, really solid because we got to develop it and workshop it so many times with so many different people. And half of the actors, we have Ralph Goldstein and River from PPF. We have Joel De La Fuente from the O'Neill. He was in that workshop. So half of the cast is also they're coming in pretty familiar with the show and how we work and what the tone of the play is, and the other three are bringing a fresh new life and energy into the play, and so it just starts us off a little bit ahead of the game, which is so helpful.
I know professionals around the country come to the Playwrights Festival. Why is it important for the local community to attend and see all these amazing plays?
I mean, the fact that there's one of the biggest new play festivals in the country happening in your backyard is pretty exciting. Um, and it's true, people really do fly in from all over. And I think it's one of them. It's one of the few ones that people actually still do that for. It's actually getting less and less that people kind of fly in to watch a series of plays. But PPF is kind of like the premier West Coast, certainly. But when I think about the festivals where people are still flying in, it's kind of PPF is the biggest one. And I think it's because one. The plays are really great. We also have access to all of those amazing LA actors, and you get to see people who you might recognize from various things who are just like playing. I mean, last year I remember one of the plays had like a cast of like 25 people or something like that. And a couple of the actresses, I was like, oh my gosh, I know her from like this random TV show. And it's just really kind of amazing to see actors who are at the top of their game, meet playwrights who are at the top of their game, and just do all of this in Costa Mesa and in the beautiful sunshine. Yeah, it's just a really, really fun time. So people should come by.
What would you tell other playwrights, actor, directors, and other type of artists why they should get involved with South Coast Repertory? Why are they such a unique theater?
Yeah, so I've worked at quite a few theaters, both as an actor and as a playwright now, and or at National Asian American Theater Company as an unpaid intern. But I think what makes South Coast really different, at least in the theaters I've been encountering in the last few years, there's such a it's a really warm group there. I feel like I walk in, I walk into the theater. We have Jack at the front desk, and he's just ready to tell me about how he baked some new challah. And I'm wandering the halls, and I see our the associate AD Kim, and she comes out and gives me a hug, and is like, "How's everything going?" I just think that there's a really hands-on approach that feels like the kind of it feels like the neighborhood theater, even though it's one of the most renowned premier theaters in the country. It really does also feel like your neighborhood theater where everybody is just excited to be there. They love theater, they love what they're doing, they love serving the community. And I don't know, there's something about this theater that makes me feel so welcome and free to fail, which means that we get to get all of our bad ideas out of the way early, and then we can actually get to the good ideas that we want to show audiences. So
And I always ask this question, 'cause as you know, the tickets don't actually cover the cost of a play production. So why are theaters like the South Coast Repertory so important and needs the community's help and support in many ways?
yeah, South Coast Drive. I don't know if people realize how many. It's a South Coast Rep is a theater where there's like a ton of plays that started. I wish I had the list in front of me, but there's like a huge amount of really, really famous plays that started at South Coast Rep. So not only am I just happy to be there, but I'm joining a history of just like the greats, people that have gotten to world premiere giant plays that went on to have huge lives, or gone to Broadway. Um, and so I think when you're supporting a place like South Coast Rep, you're supporting the industry as a whole, because some of those shows, I mean, if South Coast Rep hadn't commissioned Lauren Yee, I'm going to talk about Cambodian rock band again, hadn't commissioned Lauren Yee to write Cambodian rock band, I mean, I don't know if that play, I don't know if she would have ever taken that leap and into writing that play. You just don't know. And I think that's kind of the most wonderful thing is you're not just supporting like the day-to-day of an organization, you're supporting the future of an entire industry. And it allows them to continue to make bold choices rather than giving audiences what people think audiences want. And the truth is, audiences don't always know exactly what they want in the moment. You don't know it until it's in front of you and you're like, oh wow, I didn't know I needed this play in my life. And I think it's only through supporting theaters like that you can actually continue to have those experiences. Hi, I'm Keiko Green. I wrote You Are Cordially Invited to the End of the World. You absolutely must come see this play because it is something, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. It's going to be full of laughter, possibly tears, but it will entertain you all the way through, and I think will ultimately leave you buzzing and talking about all of the ways in which the world and you and everyone you love is significant and connected. See you at the theater.